to share with you today are some different things on creating content that works online. So I'm sure everybody in here has a website that they're utilizing, so this should be applicable to anybody, whether you're an affiliate or a vendor or whatever the case might be. I know that coming to these conferences, it's always a good opportunity to be able to sit and think about things and brainstorm and share ideas with people. So my goal for you today is to bring about some of these thoughts of different ways that you can view your online marketing efforts. And what I'm hoping is that you'll have one thing that you can take away and apply, maybe more, but at least one thing that you can take home, apply immediately. So that's kind of your homework from this. The other thing is, by sitting in here, you're committing to taking part in some way, shape, or form, so no napping right after lunch. This is always a tough spot, especially after dessert. So just be warned that you're going to have to take part at some point here. So when you're talking about online marketing, it can become quite boggling. I mean, having a site is just not enough anymore. You look at all the different aspects of online marketing, and you look at social, we've heard from that, customers, technology, all the changing things that are going on, all the different interfaces that are going on. It can almost become too much. I think what's important is to focus in on a couple of different things today. I mean, we've had sessions on some of these topics that were an hour long themselves, so I'm going to cover like 5 different things here, and we've got a lot to go over, so hang on. SEO is going to be the first thing we're talking about. It's so important. Who here has been affected by Panda or Penguin in some way, shape, or form? Okay, if you don't know what it is, we'll talk about that in a second here too. Social SEO. Mark Iverson talked about that a little bit earlier today. We're going to go into that a little bit more as well. Video, one of my favorite topics, especially when you start talking about HTML5. So be prepared for some of that. And then just peripheral devices, smartphones, tablets, these types of things. So when we talk about search engine optimization and search rules, we need to talk about Panda and understand what's happened in the last 17 months. Panda 1.0 was released in February of 2011. And let me tell you that the day that that was released, I will never forget, because it really shook the affiliate world and our vendor world as well, because anybody that had a website that wasn't playing by Google's rules, which ironically, nobody knew what the rules were and they shifted that day, it really rocked some people. So the initial launch happened and there was a lot of shock. Some people got what was considered a smackdown, where they just weren't even available in Google search engines any longer, and they felt pretty helpless at that point because their traffic shut off entirely. About a year later, there was Panda 2.0, which was what Google needed to do to fine-tune and actually fix some false positives that were happening within the search engines, and they continue to fine-tune to this day. In fact, we don't hear so much about Panda anymore. It's all become Penguin now. And it's just people's pet names, literally, for what's going on with Google. So Matt Cutts is kind of the face of Google. If you want to see what's going on, he's got a blog. Google requires us to be transparent in what we present to our customers, and they're trying to do the same thing. Some would think that they're not completely transparent, but if the more you can read and the more you can understand what's happening, the better off you'll be, not only sitting today for how your site is and the traffic that you're getting, but also moving forward. So in the 18 or 17 months that have passed since Panda was first launched, there are a lot of things that have been learned. And I think it's important to note these things, not only because if your site is sitting okay in the world of Panda right now, or in the world of Google and the search engines right now, that's great, but things are changing. Who knows how many algorithm changes were made on Google last year? Any guesses? This is where we get interactive. You back there.
I would say probably at least 6.
A little bit higher.
12.
Even more.
18.
1 a week.
1 a day, pretty much, is what happened. There were almost 400 different changes on Google last year. Who heard about any of them? I mean, it's really a handful that you hear about when the changes occur. So it's happening, they're tweaking all the time, and if you don't keep up, you're gonna get left out. So one of the things that we learned is the importance of the bounce rate. Bounce rate is the stickiness you have with that customer when they come to your site and how long they stay on your site. If they bounce away quickly, actually you're getting penalized. So the number of seconds that people come into your site and stay there is actually being measured in the Google algorithm now. So if you don't know what your bounce rate is, it's very easy to find out through the Google Webmaster Tools. It blows my mind how many people I talk to in a given day that are really, really good at selling online, but they don't even use the basic free tools that are available. If you're not using Google Webmaster, sign up for an account today and get on it and start learning it. They've got great instructional tools, there are guides, there are all kinds of things. But that would be your first assignment. If you're not doing it, you've already got one thing you can do. The other thing that we've learned is that Panda removes the ability to cheat, essentially. In the industry, there's white hat tactics and black hat tactics. Black hat means you're doing things to really trick the engine. Do you have a question?
Yeah, about that bounce rate, is there anything, can you give us a clue on what to shoot for, or how much is bad?
I've got some information here, yeah, that'll give you more specifics.
Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'll show you a case study in a few slides here. So you want to make sure that you're using using white hat tactics and not black hat tactics. And one of the things that you can do is remove any bad content that you may have had on your domain. Placing it on a subdomain used to work, but it doesn't anymore. So if you've got bad content, kick it off your site immediately. Link bait tactics. Who knows what link baiting is? Go ahead.
You bid on a particular word, but then you show them something else.
That's kind of almost a bait and switch. Link baiting actually it can be a positive connotation as well as a negative. It's any hook that you have to your customers to get them to come into your site. So whether it's a download that you're offering or a giveaway or whatever the case might be, it may be in text, it may be in video, it may be an executable, it could be a lot of different things. Link baiting is not bad unless you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So if you're doing things and trying to grab people to your site and capitalizing on maybe some terms that are out there that are highly searched, and then they get to the site and the clients don't find anything to back that content or reinforce it, then it's when it's become negative, okay? There's also an issue with high bounce rate affecting your SERPs or your search engine results pages. Question?
Sorry, I didn't interrupt you. Can you give an example of a bad link baiting example or example?
So back in the day, a couple years ago, some people would actually say that they were going to pay people to come to their site so that they would get credit for people coming to the site. They might get $1 or something. That's kind of an unethical way to drive traffic because once they get there, there's nothing really for them. I mean, that's just one example. Another example would be to Britney Spears is in the news, right? And so my software site, I say that there's something like a Britney Spears screensaver or something like that. You go there and there's nothing really there, so that consumer is confused. What Google's really trying to do is clean up the algorithms so that it becomes a better user experience. So keep that in mind when you're making changes in additions to your site, because if you're doing what's right for the customer and you're not just doing it for engines, then you're gonna win. Make sense? Okay. De-indexing. So one big thing that a lot of my affiliates that I manage, and I manage over probably 60,000 affiliates right now. One of the big things that they have done over the past 18 months is to really clean up their sites. We've had massive sites that had hundreds and hundreds or even thousands and thousands of pages on their site, because that used to be a really cool thing to have all that content. And what we're finding out is that Google actually gives you a negative mark if you've got content that isn't either found by the Googlebot or if people aren't actually sticking to that content or looking for that content. So spring cleaning has been a huge task on the plate of a lot of my affiliates, and they're actually taking pages from their sites that aren't ranked highly, aren't getting indexed, aren't being found, and they're getting rid of them. Because bad or low quality content is actually harmful to you. So it's quality versus quantity. and looking at what good quality pages can remain and focusing on building those out. So think about that for your site as well. If there's something that's outdated and there's a page that really doesn't make any sense anymore, either clean it up and make it more high quality and more better for the times, or get rid of it. You want to eliminate any duplicate content. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry,
No, that's fine.
So like you were saying that if content doesn't get found by Google, what if you have, so you're basically saying in a scenario there's no sitemap on the site where the boss can't find the content? And it's like hidden content, or what do you mean by hidden
So
content?
site mapping would be one of your tactics, obviously a basic webmaster tactic that you want to utilize so that it can be found and it can be crawled. You might have some no-find links or whatever the case might be, so Google can't find that, or you don't want them to. And there are some instances where you actually want to do a no-follow. One case might be if you've got a forum that's closed off that you have to log into. You can actually get penalized because it's not visible to the end user or to the Google bot. So you want to do a do not follow so that Google doesn't see that, and then it doesn't penalize you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah, you also might not want to have your AdWords landing pages indexed by Google, because if you have a lot of duplicate content like you're speaking about, they'll index that, and then they'll see that your main page is also duplicated. If one of them is going to win, you're not going to want one. And a lot of times with AdWords, you're going to have a lot of duplicate content similar to what your primary pages are, but they speak about other various things.
Great point. So quality over quantity, definitely, and unique content. And make sure you're refreshing your content on a regular basis. I've seen lots of numbers out there, but I think it's pretty safe to say if you've got a decent site and you're adding something new to it on a weekly basis, that you're probably going to be okay. A lot of people do things daily. And this could be customer interactions. It can be, new versions of your software that you're launching. It can be putting testimonials on your site. There are a lot of different things that you can do. And then you're getting rewarded for diversified traffic streams. And this has become incredibly important. This is where social is very important, because you can actually use social as one of your streams that's coming in, and in the eyes of Google, then that's a very good thing because you've got diversified traffic. And likes build confidence in your site. So all these things are factored in to make sure that you're a valid, good site that people want to go to and that they trust you. So if you can look at your site and say, hey, I would buy from that, and be objective about it, then Google's probably going to like it too. So think of it in that way. So Panda used to define good content as relevant, well-liked information, right? And that was it. So if you had content, you were talking about a piece of software, and then you had that piece of software and everything to back it, that was enough. And now it's stickiness as well. So making sure that customers are coming to your site and staying there. So the best practices have not really changed that much over time. It's just that people have had to revamp and go to the basics of SEO once again and rebuild things so that Google is seeing them in a better way. We've talked about the unique content, and also just utilizing the free tools that are out there. It's amazing. You don't even have to pay for tools. They give you really robust tools through Google Analytics. There are 3 things that you can do when you're looking at your content, and it's really hard. So think about it this way. If you're having a conversation with somebody and you know nothing about them, you don't know who they are, and you don't know what you're going to talk about, how can you present any materials to them? Same with your site. If you know who your audience is and where they're coming from and what they're looking for, it becomes very, very easy to create content. And socially, when you get social interaction going on through Facebook or things like that, it becomes a lot easier to create content because you see your audience is taking you where you need to go. Go Google yourself and go Google your product names and find out where people are finding you and how they're finding you. And then create the content to drive the traffic based on these things. It sounds very simple, but it's amazing how many people don't do that. So here's one of the studies that we were referring to earlier, and this is from Behavioral Metrics Lab, and they were talking about quality content. So they're saying that a 60 to 70% abandonment abandonment rate for less than 10 seconds. So if somebody's sticking on your site for less than 10 seconds, that's a poor score. So that's what you want to shoot for, something higher than that. I mean, that's not an exact science, but it gives you some guidelines. The other guideline is to look at maybe 400 to 600 words per page. That seems to be a happy medium as well. And then you have to consider the other shift in search. For instance, with social. Google+. Mark Iverson, if you sat in here earlier, he was talking about social marketing in Google+. In the world of Google, because it is a world of Google, most of the searches are going through that right now, although there are some shifts going on. You want to play by their rules and look at who they're buying up and what tools they're implementing. Even if there aren't that many Google Plus users or you can't monetize through Google Plus, it's still being considered within the search engine result pages and the algorithm, so you want to make sure that you're utilizing Google Plus. Facebook and Twitter are not getting the same consideration. So this is a kind of interesting war that's being waged on who the power people are in the industry and where they're sending traffic. So for instance, Facebook and Twitter are not getting the same considerations within Google as Google Plus is. They're using their own tools, obviously. And there's no sharing of information on Facebook and Twitter as there is on Google Plus. So Google Plus is going to account for more, even though there may be more traffic through Facebook. So consider those things as well. And Bing doesn't share Facebook or Twitter information, but they do share Facebook as of 2010. So these are all important things to know. In social voting, as far as liking and how it's factoring into the algorithms, this is all in its infancy. It's all very new and it's going to change even more than pandas rock the world in the last 16 or 18 months. Look at this as well in the future and read some different things. I read on a daily basis. There are a couple of great sites if you want to go to. I should have written these down. I usually have a sheet, but SEO Moz is one of them. Daily SEO gives you just a real cool digested version of something you can read in literally like a couple of minutes in an email format, and it teaches you about SEO tricks and tips and trends that are going on. So those are a couple of them. And then social advertising. You know, this was one thing that was discussed, and it would have been interesting to have in our long discussion on just social advertising as a whole. Because I think, Phil, you had mentioned actually that you did some social advertising. You didn't feel it was effective, but you got 60,000 visitors, unique visitors out of it. Is that correct?
We were doing a lot of content and putting in social. We were doing about 60,000 uniques a month.
Okay, which in my opinion, that's pretty darn decent if you're thinking about branding as a tactic. If you're trying to sell more of your software and convert it, and you're saying that that didn't happen, maybe that wasn't as successful. But I think you have to consider social in two different ways, whether it's for branding or whether it's for making sales, or whether it's a combination or hybrid of both of those. So there are different things that you can do, and you can pay for advertising, much like you do with AdWords. Facebook advertising, you can do stumble upon ads, you can do promoted tweets. You know, these are all types of things that you have to factor in, and some people are dabbling in it. I have not talked to many people. I've talked to maybe one or two who are having success and actually making money in these different ways. I don't know how to position software yet, so if anybody figures that out, I'd love to have that conversation. Facebook accounts for about 50% of all the sharing on the web right now. So you got an audience there. There's going to be a way to capitalize on that. It's just a matter of figuring that out. Pinterest is also interesting. Who uses Pinterest? I do as well. And I actually bought something because of Pinterest, because my friend, it was this really cool salt cellar that was hand cast. And my friend said, oh, this is really cool. This would look neat in your kitchen. And I'm like, heck yeah, it would. And I went and ordered it. And it was all because she just posted or pinned it on Pinterest. And I never thought I would actually fall prey to that, but I have. I think that's pretty much the norm. Actually, the target would be me, a woman. I won't reveal my age, but I'm in the age range. And somebody who uses the internet. That's a good way to get on Pinterest. Again, I have not figured out how to utilize software. But if you think about women and the types of software that they may use, I'm thinking maybe try some, you know, if you've got scrapbook software or something like that, photo type software, it'd be interesting to see if some things could fly on Pinterest that way. Twitter in the last 6 years has 140 million active users, and there are 340 million tweets daily. It's interesting because I've had some conversations here with people that were like, I don't get Twitter. I really don't want people to know what I had for lunch or, you know, how I'm feeling at the moment. But quite honestly, Twitter, if you look at it from a business perspective, there's a lot going on there. It's a way to communicate with people. It's a way to engage people very quickly and very easily. One thing that I always do via Facebook, via LinkedIn, via Twitter is let people know that I'm coming to conferences, and let me tell you how much time it saved in sending out emails and trying to set up meetings, because I can post it with my friends that I have that are business acquaintances, and very quickly, hey, I'll meet you Tuesday at 10:30. It happens, and it's so much easier than email. One of the videos that Mark Iverson showed was talking about how some of the colleges and universities aren't even issuing emails anymore. It's a new way of communication, and if you know anybody that's sub 20, I mean, it's happening all over. So think about that as you're looking at ways to migrate and gather an audience that's up and coming, that's going to be able to have that disposable income in the near future, and think about the way that they're communicating, and then reconsider Twitter if you're not a follower or a believer. Facebook is supposed to reach 1 billion users by next month. The last time I checked, they were on target to surpass that. 1 billion users. It's insane. I remember when I signed up for my Facebook account, it was because actually I was at a conference in Russia. And some of the Europeans that I was working with over there wanted me to share some pictures from the conference. And so that was our way of doing it. And I had no idea at that time. This is probably, I think, 7.5 years ago. No, it wasn't that long ago. Sorry, it was 5.5 years ago. And I had no idea at that time what an impact Facebook would have on my life and everybody else's. It was amazing. So when we look at search too, and I think this is something, if you haven't really spent much time in Facebook or the social sites, you have to think about how search is being presented. We're all familiar with, if you type in, for instance, in this case, a Sony Ericsson superphone, and you want to get results, it's very specific as far as the results that you get based on the query that you put in. Search, that's not the case. In search, actually, you'll get presented with ads and opportunities to look at different results information based on what is being talked about between you and your friends, which may or may not creep you out a little bit, because sometimes it's pretty darn close and sometimes it's a little off. So it's interesting to see. I don't know if people pay attention to that on their Facebook page, what ads get presented. Do you ever look at that? It's pretty cool. So that's the difference in the search results. And I think that too, there's going to be even more changes in the way that search is being digested and search is being delivered. So those are things to consider. What's some of the things you can do? I mean, we were talking in one of the other sessions, there were some questions about what you can do to drive people to your Facebook page and get them to like you. Who all does support here via email to their customers? How many customers a day do you reach that way? Just throw out some numbers. 50 people that can become Facebook fans of yours every single day, or more if you've got more. So if you put the social links in your signature, your email signature, that's a great way to do it. It takes 5 seconds and boom, you've got followers. Because those are the people that are captive audience, right? And those are the people that you want to be your evangelists. You want to use the same SEO principles as you do for social. For instance, SEO title, meta description, do follow links, meta tags, keywords, all these basics of SEO. Keep in mind though, with social, everything's abbreviated somewhat. There's short messages that you're getting to people in short doses. So title's truncated about 95 characters, and description's at about 297, which is about half of what search results do generally. So you want to make sure that you're changing up your descriptions and abbreviating them accordingly for search or for social. And then there is a social site audit tool in Google. Here's a screenshot of it. You can see the level of engagement, your visitors, and everything else. And that's been rolled out for, gosh, I don't know, maybe a year now? You may know. I think it's fairly recent. Some other tools in Google Analytics. You want to check your traffic sources under Sources, All Traffic, and know your top 5 sources and check the percentages of traffic. And ask yourself, what would I do if I lost one of those sources of traffic? You want to make sure you're diversified, but in this instance, you can see that you've got, this would scare me if this were my site. This is a test site that we have. 92% of the traffic was organic, and we had a 60% bounce rate. Not such good stats. And then you've got a couple of other links coming in. So these are interesting things to look at too. So if organically I dropped off the face of the earth, 92% of my traffic on this particular site would go away overnight. Can you do without that is what you have to ask yourself, and you have to make sure you're continually diversifying so you've got traffic sources coming in from all different places. Another shift that we're seeing in search is in voice. This to me is completely intriguing. Who has an iPhone for us? You use Siri?
Nope.
Is Siri your friend?
I do.
Did you know 25%, and this is from 2 months ago, so this has probably changed, especially since my husband got an iPhone and my son's constantly searching on Siri. He's probably skewed the results. But 25% of all the search results right now come through Siri. So it's voice search results. And here's another thing, is that isn't from Google that they're getting those results. Apple is sending their Siri search results to Wolfram Alpha, which is what Bing and Yelp use. So this is giving a shift in the way people are searching and the search results that are being given out. And Apple's distancing itself from Google Maps as well. So there's this concerted effort for Apple to separate itself from the Google beast. And there are also some other changes. So Google Voice, for instance, is not doing so well. When I did this presentation a couple of months ago, we put in there that the prediction would be, and this is what you're reading all over, is that Google was really working on a better Google Voice, and they have launched it now with Jelly Bean, right? But it's still not there, according to what most people think, versus what Siri has. And we've also got some changes going on with Microsoft 8 operating system, where they're taking search to a new level, and it's not even using outside search engines to give you the results. It's actually using more of a native environment, and we've got actually Chris talking on Windows 8 tomorrow, so he can take the hour to talk about some of those things as well. Forums and blogs. Who uses a forum or a blog on their site? Is that effective?
Yes.
And it can be. It's the only challenge is it can also be damaging because the user content cannot be controlled and can have a negative impact on how Google views you, for instance. And then, like I talked about too, the members access stuff isn't visible to Google. Transparency is so important to Google, so you want to make sure that you're looking at that piece of your site. What a lot of people do is they'll put that on a subdomain or on a separate domain and keep it separate from their site so that it's not negatively impacting their site. Make sure you're also defending your content. Who goes out there and actively searches for content on your site to see if anybody else is stealing that content? If you're not, you should. You should do that on a regular basis because if somebody's scraping your content and using it and they're getting ranked higher than you, that's not a good thing. And this is something, you know, I work with affiliates every day, and you have to make sure that they're representing you well, but you also want to make sure that they're representing you with unique information and that they're giving users different ways to look at your product and different things about your product than what you are. You don't ever want to use other people's content. You also want to defend yours if somebody else is using it, because it's too darn hard to build up unique content on a site just to have it taken away. So you can ask that through Google, that through the DMCA Act, that people remove it. If you create the content, you own it according to the Digital Millennium Act. So here's a link right here. This presentation is going to be available too with all this content. You can definitely use that to quickly get somebody to claim your content, get somebody to remove it if needed. So when we're talking about quality over quantity, you want to make sure you're analyzing the long tail terms driving traffic to your site and incorporate these terms into the for Googlebot to pick up. And you want to remove the pages that are not getting trafficked or indexed and diversify your traffic, as we've talked about. Branding is so important. You know, when you think about the biggest brands that are out there, Coca-Cola, Google, different things like that, tons of money has been spent and tons of time has been spent to get the colors right and the consistency right. There are many people that I work with that will have a site and they may have changed like their logo for their site or something over the years, and even the headers don't even have the same logo as you go through. This is important to keep that consistent, because in the eyes of the consumer, if you're inconsistent there, they may distrust you. So there are two different ways to brand in software. You want to make sure your site or your business name is branded, as well as your product names, and keep those consistent. One thing that I love to see is when somebody has multiple product sets and they use their business name as part of that product name. For instance, PC Tools is probably a brand most people know. PC Tools has internet security, and they call it PC Tools Internet Security Suite, PC Tools Registry Mechanic, and they utilize that branding throughout. It's also important to use it in your domain. So if you've got, for instance, a site called softwarereviews.com and you're promoting the Kaspersky Internet Security, you should use that as part of your domain name on those pages. Does that make sense?
That too long?
I'm sorry?
That domain name isn't that too long?
No, because that's actually all readable by the Googlebot, and so it's important.
But it's not easy for people to type that.
No, you'd have your home page for softwarereviews.com, and these would be your subdomain pages, or your other pages, your product pages and things like that. You also want to make sure you're balancing your media mix. Your organic has consistent title tags and meta descriptions that when you're doing paid search, you're allowing customers to build that brand recognition. With social, Mark touched on this, but don't just jump in and let it go. You want to make sure that you're committing to social overall, that it's something that you're feeding and watering and caring for on a daily basis. Do some research. See who's talking about your brands and products. See who can be your evangelists. And then make it a two-way conversation. And build on that reputation and credibility, and make sure that you're offering transparency throughout. Back probably not even 7 years ago, if you had a domain and you slapped up just even ads on it, you could make a ton of money just by monetizing through the click-through traffic that came through. Those days are no more. You can't just have a website. You've got to build it and know exactly what you're doing through the different tools. So make sure you're thinking about that. You can do something new on your site. So whether it's a poll to get people interacting, or do graphs and graphics, comparisons are always really, really good things for software. Compare your different tiered products, for instance, or compare it versus the competition and offer some quick reference guides to do that. Nielsen Norman has a great usability blog if you're looking at web stuff. It's useit.com that you can check out. They've got some great ideas on how to create information for your site. And now we get to creating content on video. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. Who's using video on their site right now? Good, that's awesome. Who has watched a video in the last week online? Exactly, everybody does. And that's why video is so important. Google bought YouTube back in 2006, I think, for $1.6 billion or something like that. Even Google, I mean, that's a lot of money to even Google. So they're obviously investing in it for a reason. So with that being said, it's important to make sure that you're utilizing video and YouTube specifically. If you want your pages to get ranked, one of the best ways to do it is through video. There's a recent study that watched thousands of pages with video, and it took essentially what they did, and they figured out across all those thousands of pages, it took about an average of 3 days for those pages with video to get ranked in that top section for the Google search engine results pages. You could wait months or even years or never get ranked with other pages that don't have video, so that's pretty powerful. But with that being said, people are maybe utilizing Google on their site but not doing it effectively. Less than 20% of the marketers are inserting keywords in the file names of videos. Really basic thing to do. Obviously more effective and gives you the competitive edge if you do. Even fewer writing keyword-rich captions and annotations. So once again, something else you can do to give yourself an edge. And then fewer are creating online libraries. So if you've got multiple videos, make it very easy to go through and find those videos and navigate throughout your site. So you've got huge potential if you implement a few of these tactics.
My question, is there a particular video format that you should use, about Flash?
You know, you can embed in your site using YouTube. Is that what you're asking, or are you asking a technical format?
I lost it on our site, on our own site, and I'm wondering, it's actually an MP4 video, and I'm wondering, can this be viewed on different systems? So we usually have a flash loader that actually loads the video. Does that impact Google? So the Google Boots just sees the flash loader. Nothing special.
From what I've read, it doesn't at this point, but I'm hearing that it's going to impact negatively if you don't have supported files and things like that or formats. One of the best things that I've heard to do is just to go ahead and utilize YouTube because it's getting indexed more quickly through Google then. And then you don't have to worry about a lot of that. It's already taken care of on the user side. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Google has launched analytics and targeting for video as well. They give you demographics, specific tags, categories, age restrictions, all different types of things. Zappos is one site that I visit because I like shoes. They did a study and they talked about the fact that they followed a bunch of different pages that were on the Zappos site, and they showed up, products with video showed up at 8.1% of those search results for the queries that were tested. This accounted for almost 78,000 more clicks and customer visits to the site, so you can see how quickly that can build up. And then you take it to a new technical level with HTML5. So HTML was originally created in 1990, and HTML5 is still not fully launched as of today. It gives you tablet and smartphone capabilities, and also gives the ability for video, audio, and canvas capabilities. It also gives more for multimedia and graphical. So some of the cool things that are happening in video, who's seen a really cool YouTube video that's interactive lately? There's another video that's a little bit, oh, go ahead.
Good question for you.
Uh-huh.
As far as video comments, do you recommend leaving them on, turning them off? Is there a difference in SEO value, or does it not matter?
I'm not sure on that. Aaron, do you know?
My guess, I don't know either, but my guess is you would want those comments on.
It's unique content. Yeah.
The more people are interacting with it, Google see that there's more relevance, there's more interest. They're going to then show that in their search results. It's all about that whole community of
Definitely. There's another one too. I'm not going to spend the time doing it. But this is one you can check out too. I've got the URL in here. But this is more technical in nature and probably a little bit better aligned with software. This is for a particular camera. And it's pretty cool because it gives you the little code card, and then the person can hold it up to their webcam and see a three-dimensional tour of the camera and interact with the camera. So it's kind of a cool way for somebody who has a pretty high price point item to make a product tangible for a customer and make them want to buy it online, which I think definitely relates to software, especially some of the higher end B2B type software that we have. So you could give your clients a visual tour of your software utilizing this experience as well. And video definitely does have some benefits. I mean, just as you mentioned, it's definitely positive influence on SEO clicks and conversions. That stickiness, it provides more searchable content, entertainment value as we just witnessed, and a way to provide additional product knowledge to make customers more comfortable with your product and spending money with you. So there's another study that was done by Forrester. Forrester comes out with some really great things for online marketing. And this was changes on the landing page, ranking on the first page. And 16,000 videos had an average of 1.5 video results for 11,000 to 1 chance, essentially, that you would rank first with that particular page. And text pages only, without any video, there were 4.7 million. And that was a 500,000 to 1 chance. So if you want to really increase your chance for being in that #1 position, you can see here video can do that. Most videos aren't optimized, so definitely optimize your video. And if you can create a video and optimize, you can dominate in that particular area. You also want to make sure that your keywords are matching the content on the pages with video. Don't just slap video up on a page. Make sure you're cross-matching and doing that. Example, video review should be on a review page specifically. Make it immediately accessible to the Google bot so it can get picked up. And adding video leads is definitely more blended results, so it's a positive thing. So here's some different ways that you can optimize using keywords. For instance, don't stuff. Just don't use any bad practices with video either. We talked about hosting it on YouTube and then embedding it on your site, because Google does rank that a little bit more favorably, and Google owns YouTube like we talked about. And then add keywords to video title descriptions and tags and embed it, and then link your content back to that video. So it's definitely a solid flow for your customers to experience the video on your site. And then create a video library. Here's the Webmaster Video Sitemap information link that you can get from this presentation then, to give you some hints on that. So how-to videos, that would be one way you could do it. If you've got a complex piece of software, you can give them a little run-through and a tour of your software, and really tying it to solving problems is probably the best way. One of the hardest pieces of software that I found to sell is recovery software, because people don't know that they need it until it's too late. So showing people how to recover software and making it very personal, showing them that they could lose 500 of their most cherished pictures that they normally would have on their computer, and that they can solve it with this particular piece of software, and making that very personalized is a good way to do it. Just lots of different ways. You can also do demonstrations by professionals. You can actually hire people to demo your product on behalf of it, and essentially endorse it and give it that sense of credibility. You can also have contests. We have one of our clients is Telestream, and they have a Wirecast product, which is a podcasting piece of software for professionals. And they had a contest where customers would create podcasts with their particular software and submit them, and then they would get this whole suite of professional podcasting software if they were to win. So it was a really cool social engagement utilizing video. And then the last thing I want to talk about is social, local, and mobile. It's a really hot term, the solo-mo. In less than 5 years, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube just exploded. I mean, that's such a short time. And there's definitely more of a focus on reviews and ratings and how people perceive you and your business. There's a shift in buying behavior at this time too. There are a lot of different stats out there. I've heard probably 3 different numbers. The one that I see is 63% of social media users list consumer ratings as the reason that they preferred a particular piece of information and actually purchased. 32% of all people expect to see reviews now. They don't have time to research on their own all the time, and they want to see what other people are saying. I know when I purchase appliances, for instance, I do look at reviews and things that people are saying. Same with restaurants. Have you guys ever traveled and Googled some different restaurants and looked at consumer reviews to see if it was a total hole-in-the-wall dive that was worth going to or not? We do, and if you get the weird people that are like, yeah, it's terrible, blah, and it might be the only negative one, but then you look at all the different comments, and especially when you have time when you're road tripping to do such a thing. So that's one thing that people may do with your software as well. Social brings about accountability on both ends, so you have to be able to respond very quickly and make sure that those people that are unhappy that are talking about it, you're responding to and making it better. So you can always turn a negative into a positive as well. So how to manage your social content. You want to solicit reviews. You want to handle negative comments and reviews immediately. I mean, it's much like customer service. We launched, for my commerce site with Digital River, we launched a social page. And it was very interesting to see the types of interactions that came in there, because we found out very quickly that we were getting not just our partners such as yourselves interacting with that page, but also end users, which we didn't expect to the degree that we got it. So we had to reshift kind of the flows within our site a little bit so that it was easier for those consumers to find resources rather than maybe venting on a social page. Or we utilize some of them to show that we take care of our customers with quick customer service, and that was an interesting way to handle it as well. Mobile. In 2011, there was a 400% increase in mobile searches, which is out of control. It's not just smartphones, but tablets. Everybody's got them now. So people are searching while they're running errands. Who knows what Black Friday is? Marketing holiday, essentially. It's the day after Thanksgiving when people are going out and buying stuff in brick and mortar stores, and there are great sales. Black Friday of last year was the first time that advertisers actually tried to lure customers to purchase while they were at a brick and mortar store. So say I'm buying a refrigerator at Best Buy, and there may be some localized ads that would pop up while I'm looking for that information from my smartphone that would try to lure me away across the street to maybe a local place with a better price. So thinking about how people are getting presented with this information and being able to respond in that way for your business is also important when you're entering the mobile market. Groupon entered the market, obviously in a raised local awareness, because you can get offers that are very localized to your area. So people are used to doing this now. They want to get offers that are specific to their needs at that time. And they're going to get even more particular as time goes on. So overall, you want to continue to build your site and brand. It's the heart of your business. You want to add video strategies if you haven't already. Almost everybody here has, so that's fantastic. And you want to become an expert at solo mo marketing efforts to watch the trends and the technology accordingly. We've already had some questions, but does anybody else have any? Go ahead.
You mentioned protecting your content and making sure that affiliate sites don't use the same content. How does that work with pad files, where a lot of affiliate sites are pulling information out of your pad?
That's a great question, because what I've done a lot in the past year is educate our affiliates that they need to have a unique selling proposition. You want to work in conjunction with your affiliates, not against them. So they may get the basic bits of information that they need. Some things are not going to change, like price. You don't want the price to change. You don't want the images to change. You want that branding to stay there, the names and things like that. They can utilize that information and take it to the next level, essentially, is what the good affiliates will do. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Did you have any advice on the length of video? Is it better to have short videos, longer videos, or?
See, and this could be an hour-long segment in itself. Yeah, there are a lot of studies out there, and you can research what effectiveness for time frames and stuff. Most of what I'm saying are under 3 minutes, but over like 45 seconds. It depends if you've got a pretty detailed bit of information, and you can do A/B testing with videos too, and check. I mean, I know when I go look at YouTube, if I'm checking out something at work and there's a YouTube video and I've only got a few minutes, and if it's a 22-minute video, I'm not going to go to it. So keep that in mind. It's generally about anywhere from like 45 to 3 minutes is what I'm hearing.
But, okay, but what about the SEO part from Google? You know, if they take the length, if there's anything.
I don't know. Does anyone know that? To be determined. That'd be interesting to check out. Now you got me intrigued, Phil.
No, it's a thought. There's a lot of stuff.
I'm gonna Google it.
People tend to like short, they look at short videos more than long videos.
Yep.
I know that, but I was wondering if the SEO value, if Google's going to be like a longer ones, but
That's a good question. You have to research. Go ahead.
Page load speed taken into account in SEO?
Definitely, definitely. And it will give you those in the analytics of how your load times are going. And keep in mind, if you've got international customers as well, that's going to factor in. So you might want to have a hosting company that can serve at different countries and things like that on your behalf. But you can get penalized for having slow load times. So check that out. You can get it. I think it's an error report that tells you if it's maxed out, can't you? On Webmaster.
In Google Webmaster.
It tells you, actually, I think you can look at competition too, can't you? Load times
Load times.
for comparable sites.
Not the Google Webmaster tools, and if I'm not mistaken, they have a component of that in Google Analytics as well to tell how fast your pages are moving. And that is vital. That's one of the factors that they score you on, not only in search but also in AdWords.
What's the kind of question?
It gives you, I think Webmaster will tell you like what percentage of your pages load in different segments, and it'll break it out for you. It's pretty straightforward, and then it'll show you the red areas. Go ahead.
What if you have a carousel on your main page where different content comes through?
Uh-huh.
Does the search engines look at that, or does that act as
not sure. It probably depends how you have it set up.
It's constructed.
Yeah.
If it's all flash-based and all of the content is in a format that the bots will not read, you're not going to see it. If it's all CSS-driven, you can see it.
That brings up a good point, though, too, with images. You want to make sure you're tagging your images so that they can be read as well as content. So that's an important tactic as well. Any other questions? Thanks for sticking with me, guys. I know this is tough right after lunch, so I appreciate it.